Hi there! If you always wanted to be unbeaten on Football Manager 2022, well, let's find out how to do it. Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Kyle and today we will be looking at our invincible season with Celtic in FM22. If you've not already watched some of the videos there, then there is a playlist that should be right about here somewhere for you to click on, right? Go have a watch of that. You know we've been invincible, right? But there's still some surprises along the way, so go back and I'd recommend you watch that. It's decent if I say so myself, you know. Not to blow my own trumpet, you know, but toot toot. What we're looking to do today is look over that Celtic save and look at, you know, how we managed to do the invincible season. You know, it's something that doesn't come along that often in sort of Football Manager and real life, so it's a big achievement. So it'll be nice to kind of see where we sort of went well, and if there's anything that I would have potentially changed as well. So I've loaded up the save from, you know, the point where we finished the season, and then we're going to have a look through, see what we thought. Again, if you've not already watched it and you don't want to go and watch the video I linked a few moments ago, which you should, but if you don't, here's a wee recap of some of the highlights of the season.
I become a little too shy for love. I've been hurt before. All's fair in love and war. So I snuggle up close to the shell I'm living in. And if I let you in, another round begins. No, I'm spinning in a vicious cycle. I'm scared of doing something I'll regret. Maybe this is right, but I'm still staring at your silhouette. What if you're everything I need? A fire in my heart, the air I breathe. What if I'm incomplete without you by my side? What if I go against my heart instead of confessing from the start? What if I miss out on the life meant for us? I need you by my side.
Not bad, eh? But without further ado, let's have a look at the team and what we did that season. Let's go. Alright, so this is how the league looked at the end of the season. We finished on 100 points. As the title suggests, 0 games lost, 31 wins and 7 draws. We finished, what was that, 28 points ahead of Rangers in second. A massive rousing success this season, you know, a lot of huge victories in there. So we'll have a look at the schedule, see if there's any fixtures that kind of stood out, and then we'll have a look at the tactic we kind of used for the majority of the season. Right, so starting off, straight off the bat, this was episode 2 of the save, was our first ever Champions League qualifier. So the first game we lost 3-0. If we have a look at what the team looked like at this point, I don't know if the tactic was quite right. Yeah, it's slightly different to how we sort of ended the season. I was going for the sort of 4-3-2-1. It didn't really work. Again, look at the team. You know, there's not massive changes I would have made. I think looking back on it, the fact Ralston's at right back is a bit concerning, considering how good Juranovic was for us for the rest of the season. I don't know what I was thinking there. But you learn from your mistakes, don't you? So we get beat 3-0. We then go back to Celtic Park with a 3-0 deficit to, you know, try and overcome, and we end up winning 6-1. This was unreal. I thought the save was going to be, you know, scunnered straight away with the 3-0 loss, but this game, we have a look, we changed up the tactic, we went more attacking, so we went with the 4-2-3-1, which again is a common tactic to kind of use in Football Manager. I know this year a lot of the people have been saying that, you know, the 3 or 5 at the back, however you want to say it, the 3 centre backs or the 2 wing backs is really the meta of the game. I tried it at certain parts of the season and struggled, but this formation did me right. So I don't know if it's just a preference of mine because it's a classic. David Turnbull, as you'll see throughout, was a real rousing success in that attacking midfield slot. The wingers really changed throughout the season. The wingers did really change throughout the season, and who we played up front did change, even though Giacomakis ended up scoring hundreds of goals. That's an It's an over-exaggeration, but you know what I mean. Then, we made our way through the Champions League qualifiers. We ended up beating Shakhtar to get into the group stage. All this time, we were picking up decent wins in the league. We had a 3-0 win over Ross County, 3-0 over Livingston, 5-0 over Dundee, 4-0 over Motherwell, 5-0 Livingston. So there was big wins on here. So we were definitely doing the right thing going forward. For some reason, St Mirren are my Achilles heel, and they knocked us out of the Premier Sports Cup the first time of asking. Don't know how that happened. Again, they beat me, or that we struggled against them several times throughout the save. I don't know why, but it is what it is. We did well against them in the league, I guess, but they still scored some goals. Our group stage of the Champions League, as you can see, was a success, but it was a hard group. Juventus, Villarreal and Porto. We ended up going through on the last, one of the last kicks of the group stage against Villarreal. It was Giacomakis with the last minute goal, which was actually, it looked offside, but it was ruled onside by VAR. Again, rare that VAR works in your favour in a lot of games like this. So we'll have a quick look at this, because Jota picks it up, and then look at this. Cross, Johnson, Giacomakis, and then it won't show you here, but you'll see the clip on the channel if you go and watch the episode. Referee looks at VAR, and it's allowed, and that put us into the Champions League group stage, because before that goal was going in, we were into Europa League. Last 16 of the Champions League, we ended up playing PSG. Only lost 1-0 in the first leg at Celtic Park, and lost 2-1 away from home. So I'm going to still call that a success, to be honest, because PSG, if you have a look at their squad, like they've got, that was their last game, and they played a sort of lesser team. They've got Neymar, Mbappe, Verratti, Lionel Messi, Hakimi, Wijnaldum. Very good team, very good team. So I'll take anything against them. So the fact we got a goal away from home was really good. Again, some decent performances going through. We ended up in the quarter-final of the Scottish Cup. We beat Aberdeen 4-0. Then we got knocked out against Hibs on penalties, which was a bit disappointing. However, our league form continued. So again, I think some of the big results was this one, Rangers 2-2. This is probably the closest we were to maybe losing our unbeaten streak. Again, the fact that they scored 73 minutes to take the lead at Ibrox, it's always going to be hard to come back from that. Some other games you wouldn't think would be difficult. You had Dundee United, where they went 2-0 up after 8 minutes. We had to come back there. Another game against Dundee United actually here, the 4-4. Again, that wasn't so much. They came back, we were leading, and then they scored the 2 late goals. But again, some difficult ties that we had to put up with throughout the season. So we did well to come out unbeaten. But obviously the question is, how did we get there unbeaten? So we'll have a look at who we brought in and then the tactic. Alright? Right, so this was our transfer activity. Again, we came out at a massive profit. Well, not a massive profit, but 15 mil, which is brilliant. Most of this was done before I kind of came in. I didn't really change too much in terms of personnel, just bought in the right people at the right time. So we have a look through. So up until Dixon, up to Starfelt that was all Celtic before. That's who you get anyway before the game starts. So our 2 signings was Neco Williams on loan and Todd Cantwell. So Neco Williams, we got him from Liverpool. He had a great season. If you have a look at his stats, he had 34 games, 15 assists, 4 player of the match. He was 7.74 average rate. 7.47 average rate, and he was Wales Player of the Year. He got that in December, and as far as I'm aware, he was also the Player of the Season in the league. We'll double check that. Also brought in Todd Cantwell, so this was a good sign. I think this was one that I wasn't really planning on making any more changes, and I saw his name come up in a scout report, and we were able to get him for 3.5 million. So when you look at his stats, you just kind of see, 3.5 million, you'll take that any day of the week. He's got really good technique, his dribbling's good, he's got good composure, he's got a bit of flair, he's off the ball's decent, he's got good vision, his agility is good, pace isn't unreal, but it's not bad either. He's a proper solid player to have. So yeah, 100%. His traits as well, he tries tricks, he beats your opponents, he likes to switch the ball, cuts in from the left wing. He's a quality signing. We got him for an absolute steal on transfer deadline day. So often a transfer deadline day transfer doesn't work, but that one I would say definitely did. Definitely worked for us. So happy with that. In terms of transfers out, there wasn't a massive amount for us. There was a lot of loans going out. In terms of who we actually sold, we sold Julian. Yeah, he left us in January to Lille. He was unhappy when he came back from injury. We weren't really playing him that much because Starfeld and Carter Vickers had kind of formed this partnership. So he was gone, and Bolingoli, we put him out on loan because again he wasn't getting fit. He wasn't getting games. We had Neko on the right. We had Greg Taylor out on the left, and then Juranovic was kind of filling in at either one throughout the season. So he didn't really get as much games as he would probably want. So we put him out on loan. He was playing at a top level anyway, so more than happy with that. Ayeti went away on loan. Soro went on loan. We sold Beaton. He was one of our first sales actually, and Anthony Ralston went away as well. So players that I didn't really have much use for in the save. So transfer market wise, there wasn't really much because I think Celtic have quite a strong team in the first place. There's not really too much of a reason to kind of go into the transfer market too much in your first season. I have already started playing this save out, like going forward as like an own little personal save to kind of keep me going until the main game comes out. And second season, yeah, I'm making a lot of signings, but that's where the Champions League money and all that sort of helps you. So you don't want to overcommit in the first season. You want to kind of get to know your team, and then you'll learn where you need to step up and improve, right? So all this boring stuff, the training, what am I talking about? The signings and all this sort of stuff and the schedule. You've clicked on this video because of the tactic, and again, the tactic isn't anything special, I'll be honest with you. But I just wanted to kind of go over what I played this season, what worked for me, so that if anyone wants to play the game and you're not sure of what works, then this will work for you, hopefully. So this was the tactic that we played for the majority of the season. Anyone who actually watched the save, you'll have seen this pretty much every single game. So this was our main tactic, right? Neko Williams usually played out here, but instead Juranovic did play there sometimes, so we'll put him in for just now. So this is pretty much the team I played in the last game of the season. There was a few injuries and people weren't fit and all that sort of stuff. So there's some players like Shaw is in there, but Shaw didn't necessarily play there previously, so it's not 100% accurate to what we actually played throughout the season in terms of personnel, but the tactic is the same. So in goal we had Joe Hart, right? I personally prefer to play a sweeper keeper, but Joe Hart is not good at a sweeper keeper. I tried that at the start of the season and it was not good. He's got decent acceleration and stuff, he's not bad, his pace is terrible though. So that's the issue, he doesn't really get out there sort of quick enough. So he is just a standard goalkeeper. In terms of going forward, I would probably look to bring in a goalkeeper who can play that sweeper position, especially because I kind of want these guys to maybe play more like ball winning going forward, but we didn't have that sort of option at the start of the save. So you've then got Taylor out on the left. So this is just a standard wing back attack. Instructions are all kind of the standard. So dribble more, run wide with the ball, cross more often, cross from byline, get further forward, and this worked. On this game, crossing seems to be very, very highly powered. So again, it's a big thing to make sure that your fullbacks and potentially your wingers are getting those balls in the box. That's probably why Giacomakis got so many goals. A lot of headers were going in there. On the right, Juranovic is exactly the same, but just flipped over. Again, in terms of individual changing little things here in their instructions, I didn't feel the need for these guys, to be honest. I think they all kind of fit this role. They've all got decent crossing, they've all got decent pace, so they're all happy to kind of power forward and get the crosses in. So I was happy to leave that. At some point throughout the season, when it was harder games like Juventus or PSG, I did change this to sort of support, just to reduce the amount of players powering forward the whole time. But for the most of the time, these guys were on attack because we're the better team in Scotland, do you know what I mean? So 9 times out of 10, we are the favourites to win. In defence, for most of the season, here it's Welsh and Starfelt, but it was actually Welsh and Carter Vickers that played for the majority of the season. Carter Vickers has now went back to Tottenham at this point, but if you have a look at kind of the sort of positions, they're both central defenders, just defend. Again, the best saying I can give you when it comes to Football Manager is just keep it simple. Do you know what I mean? Like, don't overcomplicate things. People tend to just do that, and it doesn't always end well. I always find, see if someone has like a really complex tactic, you're just overcomplicating the boys. That's really the big thing. So very straightforward. Like, just like the wing backs, all they're doing is running up the wings, crossing the ball, and I'm telling them where to cross the ball from. That's the only real instructions there. With these guys, exactly the same. They're holding a position and they're dribbling less. We don't have defenders that are good enough to really play that ball-winning midfielder or the wide centre-back, or I'm talking ball-winning midfielder, ball-playing defender, or wide centre-back. Ideally, you'd want at least one ball-playing defender in there to kind of pass it out and play it out from the back, but we didn't have that, so keep it simple. Keep it with the centre defenders on defend. In midfield, this is where you get your bit of stability. So McGregor, he plays as our deep lying playmaker on defensive. So he sits here in this sort of hole. He's holding his position, he's dribbling less. So that means he's just going to sit there, he's going to ping the passes, and then, that means he's got that sort of options to kind of pass forward. So we'll get on to Furuhashi, but if you look at him, if he's cutting inside, McGregor's more likely to sit here, pick up the ball and play it in. He's got Turnbull ahead of him, play it to him. He's got Shaw, play it to him, Cantwell. So you've got that, and if you look at McGregor's stats, his passing is not bad. He's 13. He's got decent decision making. His vision's decent as well. So he's got all the kind of things you're looking for. So he's the perfect player to kind of fit in that position for just now. Obviously, you'd look to upgrade going forward, but I like that deep line play. So on the right, this is kind of where I struggled most of the season, and this is where we put in our box-to-box midfielder. That's what I settled on, ultimately. Again, throughout the season, different players played here, whether it be Turnbull dropping back, or Rogic coming in, or McCarthy even playing in there, but Shaw's in here for the last game of the season. Again, it's a very simple position, it's just roam from position. So this player's kind of going to push up when we're attacking, come back when we're defending. Pretty simple, up and down this sort of flank, and then when you've got someone next to him who's kind of just sitting in this sort of hole in the middle of the park, it's perfect. You're not going to get caught out either way. So ahead of them, we have David Turnbull. So David Turnbull was a revelation for us this season, right? And again, I can't stress this enough, right? Unless you're playing with like Messi, Ronaldo, like top quality players, keep it simple. Don't fire all these random instructions on them. Let them do what they do best, right? If we have a look at David Turnbull's stats, right? What's he good at? He's good at passing. He's got good technique. His first touch is good. He's got good flair. He's composed. He's got good anticipation. His long shots are fairly decent. Okay. So what do we do? He likes to shoot from distance. He tries killer balls. So just let him do that. Why try and tell him what to do? So he's in there as an attacking midfielder. He could be in there as a playmaker or whatever, but he's in there as attacking midfielder on support. So he's not pushing too far forward because we've got the wingers, right? So he's not pushing too far forward. He's kind of halfway between sort of the midfield and Furuhashi coming in and Giacomakis. So that's really his part to play. Then on the right wing, you've got Cantwell. So obviously with Cantwell, he's better from the left, but sometimes he did play out on the right. But we also had Forrest here, Abada, etc. So he was just a winger on attack. So again, with a winger on attack, they're going forward. Again, they're kind of coming back to defend as well, if needs be, but they're mainly focused on getting forward. So he's playing here with Juranovic. Juranovic is coming in for the overlap, all that sort of stuff. Very similar to our wing backs in terms of instructions. They're looking to cross more often, crossing the byline, stay wider, stay in that position there. Because again, as we'll see, you want the game to be kind of balanced. So on our left, we have Furuhashi. Furuhashi was playing as an inverted winger, and whoever was on this side played as an inverted winger. Todd Cantwell was very good at it, because as you can see, cutting in from left is very natural to him. That's one of his main traits. So here, the instructions is just dribble more, cut inside with the ball, and get further forward. So what this means is, and we'll get onto Giacomakis, one of his traits is moving to channels, right? So if you're coming forward, and Furuhashi's cutting in here, well, what happens out here, Giacomakis can also come out here. So you're not really getting left with too much space, because if he cuts in, he can come here. Do you know what I mean? Davy Turnbull he can fill in wherever he needs to be as well. So, you know, it gives you those options. So again, he cuts in from the wide area, he's dribbling more, he's getting further forward. We've got a lot of goals out of Furuhashi in the left, and when Cantwell played here as well. Even Jota, when he played out there, got a lot of good chances. And up front, Giacomakis, right? So I personally like a complete forward. But if you can find me a complete forward who's not an elite striker, then thank you. But it is hard to find a complete striker and to get someone comfortable with a complete striker quite quickly. So Giacomakis is here. You know, he technically likes to be a target forward or a poacher. That doesn't work for me, so he's advanced forward. So it means he can move into channels and he gets further forward. Again, he's got okay pace, okay acceleration, so there's nothing wrong with that. His finishing's brilliant, he's got good composure. His off the ball's really good, which helps as well. He knows where to go at the right time. So again, massive one for me was having him in there. Sometimes Furuhashi went in there, but it kind of just depended. But that's pretty much the positions and roles. If we have a look at the sort of mentality, it was a positive mentality. As you can see, it started off as control possession. This is how we started. We kind of used that as a template and then sort of morphed it. If we look at sort of the sort of tactics, and some of these change every single game, right? So approach play, pass into space. This is something I don't always like, but the way the game was sort of going throughout the season, I noticed there was lots of chances where we could just hit a through ball and we'd be on it, and we got a lot of goals from using this. Play out of defence, always. With these guys, you've got good defenders who can pass the ball, so just boom, get it out to them, and we'll play it forward. There's no point, just humping the ball up the field. Sometimes that is needed, but not always. I like to play a high tempo game, especially when you're in charge, you're the top dog, you're staying on top of them, you're not giving them a rest. Just keep the ball going, keep it moving, get chances as much as possible. Pretty straightforward. Again, a lot of this stuff I keep unchecked. Work ball into box was checked for some games, and sometimes it was worth using, but I took it off near the end of the season because we're getting a bit too complicated with our attacks. Sometimes it helps us to be a bit more straightforward, and all this stuff I leave, because again, the less instructions, the less your players have got to think about, and that's always been kind of my theory on it. In terms of the sort of transition, again, counter press, counter, distribute quickly. This was always 3 for me, unless we played a team that I thought were more superior and we needed to kind of slow things down a wee bit when they had the ball. So when we played, Porto, Villarreal, Juventus, PSG, that's when I would change this to regroup. I would still hit this as counter because it's important to counter against them when you win possession, but when possession had been lost, it was more of a regroup rather than just counter press, because you can really get caught out and be caught out of position. You can't afford that against a team like them. Again, distribute. I like to distribute across my back line. I don't just distribute to centre backs. It can be the full backs. Reason for that is that sometimes they can get a bit tight on the marking of the centre backs, so it's nice to have the option to kind of send it out. You don't want to pigeonhole your goalkeeper too much to the sort of options. Again, you can obviously do it to position as well, and that kind of helps you out a wee bit depending on who. But I think we changed our players so much, I didn't want to kind of tie it down to that too much. And take short kicks, keep it simple, keep possession. Again, football's a game of possession sometimes, so whoever's got the ball the most has the most chance of winning, as far as I'm concerned. Out of possession, we played a high line and we played a higher line of engagement. Pretty straightforward, get in their faces, don't push up too much. This line I sometimes moved back depending on who we were playing again. Again, I've got different tactics you'll see, but this was the main one, and I adjusted this one rather than moving on to a whole different tactic for different games and different situations. We make sure we use tighter marking. So for me, this is important because, again, even though we're going to be on top of a lot of games, the last thing you want is to give them the chance to counter and sort of have that extra yard of space when they're coming back. So it's important to be tighter marking your sort of opposition there. Trigger press all the time. I'm a big fan of sort of pressing football. So again, that kind of sticks with the high line and all that. And again, you're probably looking at this going, how's that control possession? It's not. We really diverged from the control possession tactic as the season went on. And then prevent short goal kick distribution. Again, that's just a part and parcel with this. And then tackling, I left that simple. Because I don't think we had an issue with any sort of too many yellow cards or discipline or anything like that. So sometimes you need to stay on feet depending on who you've got in the team and all that sort of stuff. But I think we managed that quite well. So yeah, so that was a tactic I used for the majority of the season. We did sort of play about with different tactics. There was this one, obviously that was the more defensive version of what we played previously. Again, not a massive fan of it. It didn't really work for us. I like this attacking player here that kind of feeds between these three. So not a huge fan of this one. Didn't really work for us. And then this one, that's the wrong. So this was something I've been trying out as the season kind of went on. When we knew we'd won the league, we just needed to keep winning games. I wasn't too fussed when we played sort of the smaller teams. So I tried this out a couple of games, like Dundee at home and all that sort of thing. Because again, the wide centre backs are new to the game, so it's good to kind of see what they're all about. And again, I thought this formation wasn't too bad. Not necessarily got the players for it, which is the issue. We don't really have decent, wide centre backs. But what I liked about this is you can tell these guys get forward. Like you can, even on defensive, you can kind of tell they're happy to power forward. And whoever was in here, obviously it's not Turnbull, but whoever was in here, it was kind of good to kind of jump back in, dependent on who was going forward, which is nice. So again, that was when we trialed, but this was ultimately the formation that we played all season. So we've looked at the tactics and the signings and all that. What was really the secret to our success? Well, the secret to our success, I wouldn't really say was any of these things, right? Obviously they were important, but the big thing for me was analysts, right? The Data Hub is a brand new feature this year, and I cannot stress enough how important this is. Like, we didn't really talk about it too much on the save because it's boring stat stuff. It's the sort of thing that I would be discussing on like stream or whatever like that. And if you want to see me streaming Football Manager, twitch.tv/KyleWattUK, cheap plug. But this is the sort of things I would discuss on like streaming a more in-depth sort of save. Whereas YouTube, I like to keep it short, snappy. Obviously, this is a bit more technical, but episodes I like to kind of keep it a bit more entertaining and keep it sort of straightforward for you guys. So again, we didn't really delve into me looking at all these sort of stats, but again, this bit here, right, you'll see it, advanced analysis. The reason for that is we've got high quality analysts in the team, and that's really the most important thing for me when it comes to Football Manager. So again, some of the analysts aren't actually that great. That's the amazing thing, is we could definitely improve. But look at this, so 15-15, and then who's this? Rob Fitzsimmons, 15-14. So if you look at sort of their stats, what that's meaning is we're getting better detail into our data. And the big thing for me is looking at next opponent. So we're playing Shakhtar in a friendly at the start of next season. So they've not given me too much here because, it's one of those things where they've not really played much games and there's not really too much here. But what you get is you kind of get a breakdown of what their sort of expected tactic is, what roles they play, which is important. Because for me, there were certain things that I used this for. The big one for me was exploiting which side of the pitch we would focus our attack on. So if you have a look at this one, they're quite balanced, right? However, in centre-back, they've got no nonsense on the right, ball playing on the left, with two wing backs and an advanced playmaker ahead of them, right? So if this is what they really play, right, and they've got an inverted winger, right? So if this is what they actually play, if you come down the left here, right, he's always going to be here, right? He's not moving anywhere, right? That's a no-nonsense centre-back. Conor Planka, he's going to be up and down, right, because he's a wing back, but he's always going to be here to cover. And Marcos Antonio, he's a central midfielder. It's just a plain central midfielder. We don't know what instructions, but there's a high chance he's pretty much just going to be around this area, potentially coming into this, right? So if we come down the left, there's loads of people who could eventually get in our way, right? But if we're coming down the right, so wing back, straight up, inverted winger, in. So we've got this channel's clear, right? Ball playing defender. A lot of the time, he's going to be coming forward and dribbling into these sort of areas and passing the ball forward and all that sort of stuff. So there's going to be chances in the game. And again, with the advanced playmaker, he's pushing up the field as well. So there's going to be parts of the game where this side is very exposed. So he might be up here passing the ball in. He'll be up here making a chance. He'll be cutting in. And then he'll be up, going for the overlap or whatever. So if you hit, your counter attack down here, you're gonna get more chances instantly. So that's where you have that sort of game by game changes, and you put focus on the right. A big example of that was when we played Rangers the first time. They had Calvin Bassey on the left as a fullback, but then they had James Tavernier on the right as an attacking wing back. So that was a no-brainer for me. Focus play down the left. James Tavernier is going to get caught out of position more often, whereas Calvin Bassey is going to sit back more and kind of be in that sort of holding position. So again, this worked for us throughout the season. The tactics is all good, but it's adjusting the tactic to each team is the big thing for me. It's so important, and that's the real secret to it. And again, this is why getting good analysts pays big time. This is a massive, massive thing for me this season, and it's really helped. Again, it's something I don't really use too much before because Data Hub never existed. The wee emails were cool, but not really a big thing. But yeah, this is really important kind of going forward. And again, you've got your own stats you can look at, like your passing and stuff like that. But again, I really use it for my next opponent. That's really my big thing for them. So guys, that was the secret to my success on Football Manager 2022 with the beta save. Did the Invincible season, that's how I did it. So let me know how you guys are getting on with FM22. The full game releases in just a few days now, which is massive. So again, it's something to sort of think about, but if you like this content, if you like more FM content from me, then hit that subscribe button. Hit the like button to let me know you liked it, first of all, and leave a wee comment with sort of what your plans are for FM22, and if there's any tactics that you've tried so far that have worked for you going forward. And this is really a first for me, kind of talking about in-depth tactics and all that sort of stuff. So if you want more of that, then you know what to do, let me know. If you don't want more of that, again, tell me, because it's good to know. I'm waffling on now. I'm going to let you guys go. I'll be back next week with some more content that I'll let you know about soon. Follow me on Twitter for that one, Kyle What UK. See you later. Peace.